We've got a little over 24 hours left till the release of the most hyped episode of the Digital Circus so far, which means it's finally time to wrap things up and give a final take on episode 7. First, we're going to talk about everything we saw in the trailer and the recent teasers, and then we're going to go over absolutely everything else that's in any way connected to the new episode. Right now we've got 4 main locations: the beach, the so-called Kane's office, which also includes that mysterious hallway, and the space inside the sphere, the Digital Circus tent, and of course Jax's room, which no joke is going to be a crazy important location in the new episode. Besides that, we see some kind of space where Pomni and Kinger are standing though. I'm pretty sure it's just a transitional area that doesn't really mean anything in the bigger picture. On top of the locations, we already get how the characters are going to be split up in the new episode. Kinger, Zubul, and Gangle, who by the way wasn't shown anywhere except the beach. This trio is basically going to be more of an add-on, and it's super unlikely anything major is going to revolve around them. Pomni and Regatha, who end up together inside Kane's office. And then there's Jax, who's kind of the third group of characters even though he's the only one in it. We figured out the main locations and the character groups, but I still haven't said anything about one more pretty important character for episode 7, Kane. At this point, everyone gets that he's going to go through some scary, honestly even irreversible changes, and we're going to talk about that today too. With the main stuff sorted out, it's time to move on to a more detailed breakdown of episode 7. I'm 100% sure the beginning of the episode is going to stay relatively chill, just like it always does. After that, the whole gang is going to head out on another adventure we all know way too well. During the beach adventure, we're not going to see anything new or interesting. It's going to be a quick moment that just drops us maybe for the last time into that laid-back, easy vibe of the Digital Circus, because after that, the real madness kicks in. In one of the scenes from the episode 7 trailer, we noticed how Kane first gets super pissed at something, and then hits the biggest glitch he's ever had. The way I see it, after a day at the beach, the characters went back to the Digital Circus, where Kane decided to send them straight into a more exciting adventure. However, just like always, everyone started complaining and voicing how much they hate it. We've already seen that Kane is on the edge and ready to end all of this, and another refusal or complaints from his crew basically became the final straw for him. After Kane starts glitching, we're going to see that same door that apparently leads into some kind of hallway where the characters then end up in that room with the buttons. In the previous video, I said that these buttons are basically a voting system for who's going to go explore the new locations alone. Since Pomni is the one who's the most invested in finding a way out, the others either voted for her or just straight up pushed her into doing it. Regatha couldn't let Pomni go alone, and that's why she went into Kane's office with her. So the storyline for these characters goes like this. Everyone except Jax, who we're definitely going to talk about today, first walked through that door and through the hallway, ended up in that weird room. Then Pomni and Regatha went through another hallway and eventually reached that door that basically leads to the main control room of the Digital Circus. This whole massive location is most likely outside the Digital Circus and looks like a huge room filled with every possible hint that this is where all the info about the Digital Circus is stored. Considering how much in here is tied to Kane, we can pretty much assume this really is his kinda office. Inside this location, the main thing we care about is that sphere we saw Pomni and Regatha standing next to in the trailer, and next to that same sphere, there was that pretty weird mannequin. It's pretty likely that getting inside this sphere is actually super easy. You just walk through its walls, if you can even call them that. Right now, we can't say for sure what's inside the sphere, but something tells me that shot with Regatha is going to be from there. Inside, it looks kinda like a temple, but don't think it's actually like that. Judging by the way Regatha is moving, we get that this sphere interior is just the entrance, and the real stuff is hidden off screen. It's totally possible that Regatha is looking at some kind of screen that shows literally all the info about the Digital Circus, including the way to escape it. I'm 100% sure the way out of the Digital Circus exists, and that mysterious voice at the end of the trailer is hinting at it. But it's important to understand that it's not just some door with an exit sign you walk through and boom, you're back in the real world. Even though in the pilot the way to freedom looked kinda simple, we all remember how long Pomni was wandering around the void, and in the end it got her nowhere. So they gotta look for another way out, and episode 7 is gonna be the first step toward that. After getting into the core of the Digital Circus and learning a whole bunch of hidden info, the main mission for the characters is gonna be figuring out how to actually use it. The most important thing they need to understand is how the Digital Circus really works, because only after that they can finally find the key to escaping it. Also remember that during the trailer we saw that tiny toy bucket with a bunch of keys. It's still pretty hard to say what exactly it refers to, but I've got a theory that every door the characters open is locked, and they first gotta find the right key among a lot of others. It's honestly always pretty hard to predict what the episode is going to be about, because the show creators somehow manage to top themselves every single time and show us something we were definitely not ready for. And on top of that, it's pretty obvious they're never going to reveal any actually valuable details of the new episode. However, I'm really curious to hear what you think about my kind of theory, and if you've got your own guesses, then you're welcome in the comments. Besides that, I'm absolutely sure we're finally going to get the mystery of that mannequin from episode 5 revealed. But the problem is that in the episode 7 trailer, we see not only him, but also a completely new mannequin that we currently know nothing about. Also, one of the key characters of the new episode is going to be Jax, and today I'm also going to tell you what's waiting for him. But before that, let's remember a couple other leaks and theories about episode 7. Back in September, we found out that Ribbit actually has a huge backstory that the voice actors already know, which can only mean one thing. They've seen that part of the script. With just one casually dropped line, it was basically confirmed that Ribbit will appear in the new episode, and her story is going to shock us big time. So today we're going to focus entirely on Ribbit, her past, why she became so close to Jax, what really caused her abstraction, what kind of person she actually was, and try to uncover one of the biggest mysteries in the amazing digital circus right now. Is there really a chance that Ribbit is still alive, hiding inside another body while everyone believes she's been trapped in the cellar of the circus all this time? First, let's try to understand why the theory about Ribbit hypothetically fooling everyone and still being inside the digital circus even appeared in the first place. Ever since the pilot, fans have been dying to see the return of one of the old characters, and honestly, that would have been huge for the story and really exciting to watch. But with every new episode, the creators kept making it clearer and clearer that this was never going to happen. Then in episode 5, a chain of pretty weird events gave fans at least a small spark of hope that this long-standing dream might actually come true. First, we got a very deliberate shot of that strange mannequin, then a mention, and later a reveal of Ribbit's appearance. And by the end of the episode, it was stated outright that this mannequin is going to play a huge role in the digital circus. Because of all that, a lot of fans started seriously considering the idea that Ribbit might actually still be alive, hiding inside the mannequin's body this whole time, quietly watching everyone and waiting for the perfect moment to return. And since we now know how big and important her backstory really is, that theory only got stronger in the minds of digital circus fans. Whether you believe it or not is totally up to you, but while I used to lean toward thinking this theory was more likely true than not, over time I've realized there's about a 90% chance Ribbit really did turn into an abstracted monster, and that Kane sent her straight to the cellar. I'd really love to hear what you guys think about this one in the comments. Our next step is figuring out who this mysterious character really is, and that's where things start getting seriously stranger things. First off, take a close look at Ribbit's appearance. Now look at Pomni. Then back at Ribbit. And again at Pomni. Don't you think it's a little weird that out of all the characters in the digital circus, only these two share one very specific detail, that reddish blush on their cheeks? This fact, along with the idea that Pomni was originally planned to be a frog, something hinted at not only in certain concept arts but even inside the digital circus itself, kinda proves that Pomni is a reflection of Ribbit. I'm already working on a detailed video about this theory, so for now, let's just stick to the main point. Based on all these clues, we can actually understand what kind of character Ribbit was just by looking at how Pomni behaves. By that same logic, we can also understand why Jax chose Ribbit as his best friend. She's fun, sees reality for what it is, and never tries to act like someone she's not. And considering Jax's philosophy, doing that is just lame. That's exactly why he treats Regatha the way he does, but that's a topic for another time. Like I already said, most likely Ribbit is now in the cellar of the digital circus, and we know for sure that her abstraction was directly connected to Jax and his worldview. It's obvious the process took a long time since we roughly understand when Ribbit first entered the circus, way before Kaufmo, Zubul, and Gangle, and also have official confirmation that Ribbit abstracted before Kaufmo, whose abstraction was shown in the pilot episode. Since this process lasted quite a while, it'd be really interesting to analyze how it all unfolded, starting from her friendship with Jax and ending with her tragic fate in the digital circus. There were tons of different theories about what really went down with Ribbit, but episode 5 was only the start of that story. Then in episode 6, we got some more hints about this character, and that's where things got real crazy, because in that same scene we also saw Kaufmo's door, and Jax, at least to me, seemed mad when he saw it, while his reaction to Ribbit's door was totally different. And if we bring back that parallel with Pomni, it's easy to see Ribbit was originally a real friendly and kind of character, but after meeting him, a lot of things changed. In one of my vids, I already told y'all how Jax used to have talks like that with Ribbit. In the context of today's topic, it's crazy important to remember these words from Jax.
I do not care about you or anyone else in this circus in the slightest. End of story.
Now we get that all this stuff Jax says is just him trying to, keep up his mask that protects him from the nasty consequences that sooner or later are gonna mess with this bunny big time. On top of that, Jax does all this to keep everyone at a distance, and even though it's straight up fallout from losing his best friend, we can see that the seeds of this kind of behavior probably already existed in Jax back when he was friends with Ribbit. The bunny was living in the digital circus even before Ribbit showed up, and probably already witnessed a few other characters get abstracted. After getting close to Ribbit, Jax did everything he thought was right, not just to avoid turning into that kind of creature himself, but also to save his best friend from the same fate. On one hand, Jax was helping his friend, but I feel like it actually just made Ribbit's life harder. Still, because of her strong attachment to Jax, she couldn't say a word. Ribbit lived by the rules Jax set for her, totally ignoring her own wants, and even though she had fun sometimes, pretending like that slowly started driving the little frog insane. For a while, she kept listening to her so-called more experienced mentor, convinced it was the only way to survive in this digital space. Imagine being in Ribbit's shoes. You're naturally a kind soul, and for some reason, you end up in a place so unreal that you could literally lose your mind in a second. It's scary at first, but over time you start interacting with the others, and things seem kinda okay. Then Jax shows up and starts laying out everything that happened before you got here, and of course you freak out. He tells you there's this thing called an abstracted monster, and bit by bit, you start noticing more and more rooms of characters who've gone through it. After all that, your best friend tells you to find your archetype and then everything will be fine, so you listen and slowly start living that way. But we all remember what kind of character Ribbit really is, and now think back to Jax's entertainment. Ribbit totally knew this wasn't how it should be, but with Jax constantly preaching at her, she had no choice but to listen and do the same. This went on day after day, and slowly, Ribbit started noticing changes in herself. With each day, it just got worse and worse, and in the end, we all know where that led. By protecting her, Jax only ended up hurting his friend, and that's exactly why he's scared to make any new real friends. I think he totally gets that Ribbit turning into an abstracted monster is completely on him, and that pain just keeps crushing down on Jax harder and harder every single day. Let's get this out of the way right away. The chance of Ribbit showing up as the actual living character we know is basically zero. After episode 5, I had this theory that that weird mannequin could be Ribbit, but honestly, the more I think about it now, the less I buy into that. A lot of people noticed that during a day at the beach, Jax was pretty much missing from the screen. You can only spot him chilling in the background, sitting alone and just watching everyone else. It's obvious right away he ain't comfortable being around the others, but the real reason behind that might actually surprise you, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about right now. First off, you can see that pretty much everyone's rocking different beach outfits, while Jax didn't even bother changing. He just stuck with his regular clothes. That already tells us he distanced himself from the group way before they even started changing. Most likely, right after the new adventure got announced, Jax just went straight to a lounge chair to chill by himself. Now let's talk about how he's feeling. You can tell he really didn't want to be there, and there's a couple reasons for that. I feel like Jax just wanted to stay in his room after everything that went down in episode 6. He probably just wanted to chill, clear his head, not think about whether he'd snapped at someone again so his actually pretty sensitive heart wouldn't slip up like that once more. But as we all know, Kane doesn't really care what anyone wants. What matters to him is that everyone takes part in his adventures. So yeah, it's pretty clear Jax was there against his will. That's exactly why he picked the most distant, quiet spot right away. But then, why doesn't he go up to Pomni, at least to try talking to her? Like I said earlier, Jax is actually a really sensitive character with a whole mix of emotions. Guilt, shame, all that. Even though both we and Jax understand why everything went down the way it did, from Pomni's point of view, he looks like the cockiest guy around who doesn't value anything except his own fun. Jax totally gets that. And honestly, he's just scared that if he tries to approach Pomni himself, it might end badly. Most likely he's just waiting for Pomni to, make the first move and come talk to him. But since we've already seen the key moments from this adventure, it's pretty clear Jax ain't gonna get that chance, cause Pomni's busy building a friendship with Regatha. So yeah, from that one seemingly minor shot of Jax sitting alone, we can already catch a ton of hidden details. It once again shows that Jax is a pretty complex character who's still trapped in that cool guy persona he built for himself. Most likely, the first third, or maybe even the first half of episode 7 is going to slowly lead us into the main storyline of the amazing digital circus, and Jax is probably going to be the key character in all that. I mean, At this point, every other character's story has basically been wrapped up. Their struggles, their growth, all that. Gangle and Zooble finally became real friends. Both managed to accept themselves for who they are, and Gangle even stopped dependent on her comedy mask. Kinger didn't really change all that much, but we finally got it confirmed that he's actually a great psychologist who knows exactly how to handle anyone. Pomni's slowly gotten used to the digital circus, and at this point it's safe to say she's pretty much forgotten about the word exit and learned to live with whatever this world throws at her. Meanwhile, Regatha seems to have finally stopped hiding behind that fake happy mask and actually found herself a real friend. But Jax? Yeah, he's still the one character who hasn't really been fully revealed yet. Sure, we know he's a pretty complicated guy, and most of what he's done so far came from that fear of getting close to someone again and losing another friend. But the important thing here is that we still haven't seen the final note of his storyline, and episode 7 just has to finally wrap that up. In one of her posts, Gooseworx straight up said episode 7's gonna be split into 2 parts. Most likely, the creators originally planned to make 8 EPs instead of 9, but episode 7 turned out so huge they had to break it into 2 separate episodes. And if we remember another one of Gooseworx's posts where she described every episode with one word, episode 7 was described as, huh? So in that case, we get that episode 7's gonna be the climax and the peak of the chaos, after which a lot of mysteries are gonna start making more sense for us. And episode 8's supposed to finally answer all our questions and set us up for the finale of the amazing digital circus. On top of that, Goose dropped the runtime of the new episode and officially confirmed that every next EP is gonna run longer than 30 minutes. Episode 6 was almost 34 minutes long, and it's important to realize that was just the start of the so-called chaos. Y'all remember when Goose straight up told us that one episode's gonna be crazy long, but didn't reveal which one exactly? After that 34-minute episode 6 compared to all the previous ones, we might have thought she was talking about this one. And since I already said episode 7's gonna be the key point in all this chaos, I'm kinda scared to assume she was talking about that one instead. Gooseworx also told us that the total runtime of episodes 6 through 9 is gonna be 2.5 hours, which is 150 minutes. If we round it a bit, that means the last 3 episodes are gonna take up around 120 minutes, so each next EP is gonna be at least 40 minutes long. Honestly, I feel like episode 8 is going to be the shortest one, sitting at around 34 to 35 minutes, while episode 7 might stretch out to a whole 45 minutes. Over a year ago, Gooseworx already told us who each EP is going to focus on, and if the pilot in episode 2 showed us Pomni's first days and her trying to adapt to the digital circus, episode 3 dug deeper into Kinger and showed us Zooble's real problem. Episode 4 showed what Gangle would be like if you gave her even a little power. Episode 5 revealed Regatha's true identity, and episode 6 showed us the real Jax who's always hiding behind that nihilist mask. So in that case, we gotta get that episode 7's just gonna dig even deeper into every single character, and we're gonna see way more real reactions to the truly messed up events of the digital circus. On top of that, one of the users on Tumblr asked Gooseworx, "Random line from episode 7, please?" and got the answer, "You're only making the joke take longer." Honestly, I don't even got the slightest clue who could say that, but it kind of feels like there's some shade in that line. And in that case, Zooble, Jax, or Pomni seem like the most solid candidates to drop it. But other than being a fun fact, we don't really get much out of this, because based on past leaks like this, the line doesn't really carry any deep meaning. Or maybe I just didn't catch it. If we look back at that teaser they showed us right after episode 5 dropped and line it up with what went down in episode 6, then even if it was indirect, the creators still kinda hinted at some of episode 6's events with that teaser. So the teaser after episode 6's also gotta hold some important meaning for episode 7, and I think I caught the main message the devs were sending. First off, we see a trash can somewhere on the circus tent grounds, and I'll be real with y'all, for the first couple seconds, I legit thought it was an actual trash can in the real world, and someone just tossed that photo in it. On the photo itself, we see Jax and Pomni still looking happy right after the scene where Jax lays out his world view on the digital circus.
You want to hold on to that part of you that still thinks it's part of that world, but in the end, what does it get you? Regatha tries to be all nice and friendly, but she gets torn up every other adventure. Whether we like it or not, all we are now is a bunch of cartoon characters.
The wildest part is that the photo was actually taken by Jax. That feels extra weird considering what we saw later, but you'll get what I mean in a bit. Right now that pic's lying in the trash, and it's only logical that somebody tossed it. And since we get that, Jax most likely wouldn't keep it.
We were never friends.
What about all that stuff you told me?
Yeah, I did tell you a lot, didn't I? Not looking forward to thinking about that tomorrow.
And even though we know for sure that Jax did and said all that on purpose so he wouldn't get attached to anyone, his so-called mask still wouldn't let him keep a pic like that. Which means we can be certain Pomni kept that photo, cause at first, she genuinely believed that after everything they went through together, they'd become real friends.
We could just be winners. As a team.
We're not a team, come on.
What do you mean? Yes, we are.
Delusional.
Weren't we kind of bonding over being chaotic evil together?
I was merely entertaining you because I thought it was funny.
Did I do something wrong?
You sound like Ragatha right now. No wonder we're not a team.
No, I mean...
But after everything that went down, we get that Pomni actually got disappointed in Jax as a friend, and that's exactly why she tossed their fun photo together. I'm more than sure this moment's gonna get referenced in episode 6, but it's important to understand that doesn't mean Pomni's written off Jax or won't interact with him anymore. We already figured out that Pomni's super sensitive about everything that goes down in the digital circus, and I'm more than sure she ain't just gonna let this slide. Even though she now totally gets that she's not gonna be friends with Jax, the scene at the Favorite Character Awards makes it clear that Pomni's still affected by the whole situation. They won't be friends because Jax really cut off all the chances for that. But in episode 7, we're 100% gonna see Pomni trying to reach Jax and figure out why all this is happening. A lot of people already came up with wild theories picturing Jax turning into an abstracted monster in the next episode, or at least being on the edge of it. Everybody remembers that Jax's voice actor is Michael Kovac, and if we check that post on X and Gooseworx's reply to it, it's pretty clear that literally anything could happen to Jax except him going abstracted.